Hey, what's up, you guys? This is Movie Critic Rob here with the Movie Channel, and I am going to be talking about today the spoilers of Captain America Civil War. So if you have not seen this movie and you are still here, what in the world are you doing here? Get out of here and go watch the movie right now. But if you are here and you have seen the movie, stay tuned because we're going to be talking all the spoilers in this movie, and there are a ton of things to go through. But I'm going to try and keep it as short as possible, all right? But I still want to talk about a lot of stuff because there's a lot of stuff in this movie, all right? So with that said, if you're still here, watch at your own peril. If you're not, go watch this movie now. Go. If you haven't seen this movie, go now. All right, that's enough time to let y'all know that this is a spoiler-filled review of Captain America Civil War. I am absolutely ecstatic. I got out of this movie about an hour ago, and I'm still like, what in the world did I just witness? It was absolutely insane and the best Marvel movie to date, and I can say that with 100% confidence because I walked in this movie I will talk about and I will compare in this review to Batman vs Superman: Dawn of Justice because I feel they covered similar ground, and I want to compare just for comparison's sake. I know it's different, and I don't mean to upset the fans of either or, but I'm going to talk about it in that way because I have something to compare it to. So to give y'all an idea. Anyway, like I said, because of Batman vs Superman: Dawn of Justice, I was not, after that movie came out and what I saw, I was like, uh-oh, this could be Marvel's worst movie to date. Because, you have so many moving pieces between the main characters and the side characters and the people that are all the side of them. So I went into the movie kind of, I was like, please be good, please be good, please be good. I could not have been more wrong. It was absolutely excellent. I don't know how they did it, but Joe and Anthony Russo have given the best balance. If you feel that Age of Ultron had strain at all, this movie makes up for that. I don't know how they did it. That it was excellent. Kudos to the writers. Kudos to Joe and Anthony Russo. Kudos to everyone who made this movie. Absolutely excellent. I'm going to talk about. Let's see. I'm trying to figure out how to talk about this movie, whether to talk about it chronologically or address each character at a time. I think I'm going to address each character. So let's talk about Captain America. Captain America is the Superman of this universe, meaning he's the do-gooder. He is the symbol of justice, truth, and righteousness. And so it was a welcome thing to see him because he is that, and we've seen him now in 4 movies: Captain America: First Avenger, Captain America: Winter Soldier, Avengers, and Avengers: Age of Ultron. And every time we've seen him, and we kind of saw him in Thor: The Dark World, and every time we've seen him, he's kind of been this do-gooder persona. And so I like that they shaped that up a little bit, and you really, the whole pick your side, it was really good the way they handled that. There was no clear villain, and especially that ending with the reveal of, and it's funny because both movies revolved around parents, whereas Batman vs Superman revolved around Marvel. How could you say that name? This one revolved around the about Stark and the dad and the mom, and how they were killed by Winter Soldier, which was actually pretty awesome. And I like how they handled it. I legitimately, I kid you not, I have not cried in a Marvel movie yet because there's been nothing really that deep. And when they were showing Bucky punching the dad in the face, I was like, you went there, and you have me crying. I hate you, but I love you. It was absolutely amazing. How they handled Captain America, I thought was good. He never felt like he was just off the reservation because he was just off the reservation. He always had a reason behind why he was doing what he was doing. The same with, and I'm going to segue here to Tony Stark. If you thought that he had been relegated to this one-liner machine, quippy, thing, forget that, because they gave him depth. They gave him um, real gravitas to his character. Even though, if you are on Captain America's side, then you have to hate Tony Stark. I didn't hate Captain America, and I was on Iron Man's side. They all have really good, well thought out positions, which if you've seen and if you've been in tune to the entire MCU, you'll realize, because really the positions that they end up in this movie they are diametrically opposed to the position that they started the MCU with. Because Iron Man, if you watched Iron Man 1 and Iron Man 2, was always like, forget y'all government, I'm going to do what I want. Whereas Steve Rogers was always the good soldier. I'm going to go march into battle when the government tells me to. And I like that they had, for Civil War, changed the characters, and the events of the MCU as a whole had changed the characters to a point where they are diametrically different to the places in which they began. And I thought that was very expertly handled by the directors, by the writing team, and just by the creative heads at Marvel. Very good conflict and very good explanation of conflict. You finally felt that there were consequences. In Avengers, they all ride off into the sunset. Everything's cool. In Age of Ultron, same. They ride off into the sunset, even though Quicksilver didn't run off anywhere. The rest of them ran off into the sunset, and it was cool. I mean, they got shaken up a little, but it wasn't really that bad. This movie was the first third of this movie. Gut punch, gut punch, gut punch, gut punch, gut punch. But they always, and this is where it differs from Batman vs. Superman, because where Batman vs. Superman was gut punch, gut punch, gut punch, gut punch, gut punch, Civil War was gut punch, gut punch, gut punch, one-liner to relieve you. Gut punch, gut punch, gut punch. So there was enough to where you never felt depressed by the movie, and it was always, they gave you just enough to where it was enjoyable. Let me just say it that way. And there was really no point in this movie that I thought lagged. There was no point in this movie that I thought was just there for the sake of being there. Again, and there's one thing I mentioned in the spoiler-free review, the villain in this movie, Zemo, I like what they did with him. I like the backstory that he was in Sokovia and that his whole family had been killed and the Avengers were there. That was absolutely excellent, because it gave him something that tied back to the Sokovia accident, which again centralizes Sokovia as, like something that what didn't just happen and okay, we brushed it under the rug. I mean, the Accords were named the Sokovia Accords. The whole motivation of the villain was Sokovia and what happened there. And I like that there were consequences, and this villain was born out of that consequence. And it wasn't just another copycat villain, which I don't mind copycat villains. It was good for a while, but then it got a little too, it was okay. All right, cool. Let's do something else. And ironically enough, Winter Soldier gave us something different with Robert Redford's character, which I can't remember his name, Pierce, with Alexander Pierce. And I like that they did it again. He was a calculating villain. There was a point to his actions, and I don't feel that they were throwaway scenes. Yes, you could have cut him out, and the movie would have made sense without him, but I don't feel that his being in the movie itself made the movie any worse. Whereas Whiplash, to make a comparison, Whiplash or what's his name? Aldrich Killian, some of those villains that we've seen already, they kind of detracted from the movie in a way. This one didn't. I never felt that it did. I felt that his whole goal, however simplistic, which was to get them to fight, and I love the explanation, which is, it goes back to rudimentary ideas of it. You can destroy a entity or a group of people from without, and they will always come back. But if you destroy them from within, it's going to be a lot harder for them to recoup. And I love that motivation for him doing what he did to get them to fight each other and to kind of get his payback from Sokovia. He does not die at the end of this movie. Again, awesome, because there's always possibility for him to come back and meddle with the Avengers later. And I love that. I love that. And I love this too, because this, again, this kind of feels like the Age of Ultron we should have gotten. And you do feel they reference Age of Ultron. They reference a lot of the MCU before it. So you do have to have some kind of sense about the MCU, specifically Winter Soldier and Age of Ultron. But you know, they give you explanation enough to where you know what went on without expressly having to see the movies, which I like that. Excuse me. But again, a lot of people that because I watched a few of the non-spoiler filled reviews before going to see the movie, and a lot of them were like, "Oh, Baron Zemo, and the MCU strikes again with another poor character." It was one of the better villains what we've gotten so far. It really was. Yes, he is kind of relegated, but again, the main conflict here is to get the Avengers to fight. That's the main selling point. And so for him to take a back seat, which really wasn't really a back seat, it was elemental. And the way they handled it, I thought was smart enough to where he didn't feel like a throwaway. Whereas, for example, let me do another example of one of the popular MCU movies, Guardians of the Galaxy. Ronan was amazing. I loved Ronan. But at the end of the day, he could have been a throwaway villain, if not for Lee Pace's amazing acting. If they had somebody in there that wasn't up to caliber, it would have been a throwaway villain. But Lee Pace made him memorable. Whereas this one, he was memorable already by the acting, but his motivations made him elemental to what went on. So I like that. So I talked about Baron Zemo. I talked about Iron Man. Well, I talked about Captain America. Iron Man, I did talk about Iron Man. Let's see. Crossbones. I love how they used Crossbones in this movie. He does. How he dies. But I love how that was the linchpin, too. I was always trying to figure out, you know, when you see the trailers and stuff. And that's the point. And I'm gonna stop here and make a point here about trailers. Because I stopped watching after the TV spot that I saw that had a little bit more Spider-Man footage. I just said, okay, this is it. It's time to stop because I'm going to get the whole movie ruined. And I liked where I stopped. I don't think I ever got anything spoiled, really, because the whole central conflict as to how the Avengers clash was really, well, on Cap's side was more about finding these other Winter Soldiers to neutralize them, and kind of why he goes off the reservation, because he knows, hey, I need to take care of this threat. So that nowhere in the trailers. So cool beans. But they didn't give away almost anything in the trailers. Really, I mean, Giant Man, which I'm going to talk about that in a second. Nothing. I mean, yeah, Spider-Man's in the movie. Woohoo! You need to tell that, because then here's what you do: you're essentially marketing 3 films in one film, which okay, I just realized something. Batman I don't want to talk about this because I'm going to get people angry, but I want to say this anyway. Batman vs. Superman wanted to be 3 films in one film and failed. Captain America's Civil War was one film that ended up being, in reality, 3 different films in a sense, and it was so successful because it was, first and foremost, a Captain America movie. It was a Captain America trilogy ender. And it was also an Avengers movie because it was. But it was also a Spider-Man movie because he was in the movie for a long time. And it was one of the ones that was featured the most because obviously it's Spider-Man, and we finally got him from Sony to be able to use. And I mean, yes, it's still, they're working together, and I love that they're working together, so we got to use them. And obviously that's great. And the trailers, at least the one that I saw, the long one with the reveal at the end, perfect. Absolutely perfect. You need to show that he's there because that's how you mark, and that's how you get 3 different groups of people to come to your movie. You get the Captain America people that love Captain America who want to see the trilogy end. You get the Avengers people that love to see the Avengers come together and who garnered $1 billion in the box office more than once to see Avengers clash on the screen. And you also get the people that have been wanting a new Spider-Man. And so you get the people that have been wanting a new Spider-Man movie. Yes, there are some intersection, but you market to so many people that way, and it's amazing how they did that. And I love that they did that because they really went out of their way, and I don't mean that's in a bad way. It doesn't detract from the movie at all um, to give you as much Spider-Man as possible without detracting from the story. And I kind of like that Joe and Anthony Russo didn't really have a plan B, and they kind of just were like, please let me have him. And we got him. And it was great. I never felt that he overtook anybody. I never felt that he was undersold, and the opposite. But again, in good taste. It was not overkill Spider-Man, overkill Spider-Man, overkill, overkill, overkill. It was balanced, and everybody in this film was balanced. War Machine, oh my gosh, War Machine. I hope he recovers. Because he was absolutely excellent. I love that they actually returned him to War Machine and did away with Iron Patriot. Although he was Iron Patriot or War Machine by the end of Age of Ultron when he showed up too. So I'm kind of glad, that bye-bye Iron Patriot. And I kind of like that because now with Spider-Man being in the MCU, maybe we can get the real Iron Patriot. That's always something I've wanted, was have Norman Osborn be the Iron Patriot because he was in the comics. So hopefully, they come up with something of like, it was really Norman Osborn and the Osborn Corporation that made the Iron Patriot suit. It wasn't really him. To do that would be kind of awesome, I think. And I think Marvel could pull it off. Wanda Maximoff. The most beautiful character in the whole movie. She was great. I love that she was the whole linchpin to Civil War. And I mean, it wasn't that she went off the reservation and tried to do something bad. It was she tried to do something good, and she just, it happens. And I love how they approached that conflict because they were all very supportive of her, even though they had to keep her locked up. And again, it goes back to how you handle characters. And I love that they kind of use Vision as her babysitter because, in the comics that they're the couple and they're the ones that everybody wants to see together, and they gave them together the most scenes. They were, individually they had the most scenes together, if that makes sense. Vision. First time you see him, he's wearing a sweater. But it makes sense. He's learning about himself. He's learning about the thing in his head. He's learning about who he is, how he fits into the world, and he wants to understand humanity. So he's going to dress like a human being. He's not going to be walking around in the cape and the green outfit. So I like that. I love that we saw it because, you get a taste of it in Age of Ultron. And I think that if they would have put the fight scene, the long fight scene that he was supposed to do when he wakes up in Age of Ultron, it would have been better to show that. But they showed him actually phasing through things. And he actually gets one of the better jokes in the movie. Paprika. But they did a really good job. Paul Bettany, man. There's a reason why Joss Whedon wanted you as Vision, because you are excellent as Vision, and there's nobody else that could play Vision. Just like there's nobody else that could play Tony Stark. There's nobody else that could play, right in my mind, Spider-Man. Marvel is top-notch at casting, and it shows. Let's see, who else am I? Oh, Black Panther. Oh, Black Panther. Oh my gosh, the accent. Perfect. I love how they showed T'Chaka in the movie. They actually showed T'Chaka, and they killed him. But I figured, that was one thing that, because every time you see Black Panther, he's after Bucky. So I was like, Bucky is going to get framed for killing him, or he's actually going to kill him. He's going to kill T'Chaka. But they actually showed T'Chaka in the movie, and it wasn't just a throwaway line. He actually was in the movie at the beginning, and I like that they showed that. And but T'Challa, the dude is Marvel's answer to Batman, and he was more Batman than I expected him to be. The dude was ruthless, but he was good ruthless. It wasn't like shooting people in the face. I like that. And I said I wouldn't compare to. Well, I said I did for this one, but I don't want to a lot. But really, the dude was heavy. Like he did not crack a joke. He's not supposed to, so it was fine. He was ruthless. He was the dude was a good fighter. I was like, all the Black Panther fans in the room, you got it. You got it. I'm excited for Black Panther. Let's do this. Brian Coogler, let's do this, man. Um, Natasha Romanoff, stopping the Panther, at least for a little bit. Excellent. I love how and I'm going to say excellent a lot on this because there aren't words in English language to really flesh out what I'm saying, what I want to say of this movie. It was just fantastic. I love how they brought back Hawkeye into this, and I like how there was a scene where on the raft, which I'm glad they called it the raft, because everybody was like, was it the raft? Is that this? Is that that? It was the raft. Where Tony Stark just goes, like, you really consider there's a point in the middle of the movie where he's on the raft and all the Avengers on Steve's side are there in prison, that you're like, I hate Tony Stark. Tony Stark is an idiot. Oh my gosh. But then he's like, camera's off. All right, now I'm on your side, but I want to catch Captain America. We have like a minute. So tell me, where's Captain America? I want to go get him myself. But don't worry, I'm not going to kill him. And then they end up beating each other to a bloody pulp. Best fighting scenes in any Marvel movie, or in this movie. The airport scene, I could talk about for hours, but because I don't have hours and I don't want to exhaust you, I'm not going to do that. But we got Giant Man in a movie. We got Giant Man in a movie. Scott Lang was hilarious. Spider-Man was hilarious. Everybody that needed to be the way they needed to be was the way they needed to be. If that makes sense, I don't even know if that makes sense. The airport fight scene. Oh my gosh, it was like there's so much to digest here. It's like Thanksgiving dinner in May. For the eyes, it was fantastic. Oh my gosh. Everybody, like, and I love, because I watched an interview with Joe and Anthony Russo, and they were like, everybody, the way we paired up the characters in the story, and the way that everybody ends up fighting whoever, and the way it all plays out, and makes sense. And I was like, that's great. And I watched it, and I was like, oh my gosh, it does. It was beautiful. You did it. And then I love how they use something from Ant-Man, which was the little disc, to make him bigger, and that's how you get Giant Man. I was like, they gave us Giant Man in a movie. Now we need the Wasp, which is coming soon. But I like how they didn't have her in this movie. I know that a lot of people are probably going to be like, why wasn't Wasp in this movie? Because then you have to introduce another character. We already got Spider-Man and Black Panther to deal with, not to mention Zemo to deal with, which are all new. So I like that they didn't have her in there, and because she would really be working for her dad, because they're friends now. So I like that she wasn't in this movie, and they kind of gave Scott Lang more of the limelight instead of Hope Van Dyne. Let me see. Oh my gosh. The shots in this movie. I got to talk about one in particular. When at the end, when Captain America and Iron Man are fighting, not the one that the comic book shot where it's like, and they stop on it and it's like the epic moment. Although that was awesome. But there's this one part where they fall down and Captain America lands on one side, Rogers lands on the other. I was like, Thank you. That was good cinematography. That's a good move, because the divide. I was like, good job. Oh, this movie is shot well. The only scene that I thought was a little bit iffy was in the beginning in Lagos in Sokovia. The Black Widow fights at the beginning were a little bit shaky, and again, I watched it in IMAX 3D. So maybe because it was in 3D, it was a little bit shakier than I would have liked. I'm going to go see it again on Saturday, and I'm going to go see it regular, probably, because my mom is not going to want to go see it in IMAX to spend the money, and we'll get to see it for cheaper. So I want to wait to judge that scene until I see it regular, but in 3D it was kind of jarring. Other than that, the cinematography was good. I liked how they kept everything pretty still. Even in the fight scenes, everything was pretty still. Or when there was movement, it wasn't a lot of movement to where you're like, and you're cross. I just went cross-eyed in the video. But oh my gosh, I mean, I'm still this is me trying to digest a movie. I'm still kind of digesting this movie, so I'm gotta whatever comes into my mind. That's what I'm talking about, which I know is kind of messy and kind of whatever, but I mean that's what I'm gonna do because this is what I do. When the movie's this good, it's just like I'm gonna be processing this until Saturday, and then I'm gonna watch it again. So I'm gonna spend another 3 days processing that. Definitely watch this movie and watch it again and watch it again. This is the Avengers film we were hoping Age of Ultron was going to be. This is when you follow up Winter Soldier. This is the way you follow up Winter Soldier in a Captain America film. We finally have a really good trilogy here with the Captain America trilogy. They gave the Star-Spangled Avenger, the first Avenger, the best trilogy ever. Because it could not have been better. It really could not have been better. Everybody gets their due. Spider-Man is quippy, little webhead, but it was also like nervous and like shifty when he needed to be. Perfect. Like I said, perfect blend of Maguire. If you saw I think I did it I said it in my spoiler-free review. It was the perfect mix of Maguire's Peter Parker and Garfield's Spider-Man, with his own twist, obviously. I love how they made. I'm gonna just mention this because it just came to my mind. When Giant Man goes big, they make an Empire Strikes Back joke in a Marvel movie. I was like, and you referenced Empire. Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. This movie is awesome. I could be talking about this for hours, but because I'm not going to talk about it anymore, and I want you to watch it again, and I want you to watch it again and again and again and again, like I'm going to do, I am going to just sign off here. This is the Movie Critic Rob, or Movie Critic Rob with the Movie Channel, and I'm signing off. Team Iron Man for the win. Booyah.